Hello and welcome to A New Perspective, the podcast where two people can be looking at the same thing and see something totally different. My name is Justin Xavier.
And I'm Amber Tiana.
Today we're going to be talking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Actually, today and the next bunch of days for us. For you, this is just one long podcast, but we are recording this boyhood style, which means that because I noticed that there was enough days from now until Endgame comes out for us to watch one movie every night from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So that's 21 films and in 21 days. And after each one, we're gonna record a 10-minute. We're gonna keep it to 10 minutes. Maybe we'll talk about it less than 10 minutes, but no more than 10 minutes. We're gonna time them. So it's gonna be a pretty long podcast. And after Endgame, we may or may not have a guest. We don't have confirmation yet, but we may or may not have a guest, and we're gonna talk about Endgame for as long as we want to talk about Endgame for, which could be no time or kind of a lot of time. But before that, before we even start talking about any of the movies, since for us it's early April right now, we're going to talk about our histories in the past with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So, Amber, you can go first. Briefly explain your relationship with the Marvel films, just like starting in 2008 all the way to now.
All right.
overview.
So you said starting in 2008. I'm really glad you told me that because I'm assuming that's the year. Actually, I know it's the year it came out, but only because we just watched Iron Man last night.
Right.
When Marvel started coming out with this stuff, I had no previous association with any other superhero. I didn't really care about Batman. I didn't really care about X-Men. I didn't care about Superman. I had no reason to want to go watch this superhero movie. It wasn't my jam. I was
You were in Hawaii. There was no Hawaii superheroes
we
necessarily.
honestly
so
at that time.
Beach.
Hey, we got some superheroes now.
Yeah,
Jason
you do.
Momoa, ooh, The Rock.
Aquaman.
Has The Rock been a superhero yet?
He's been cast as a superhero a bunch of times, and it hasn't happened yet. He's supposed to be playing Black Adam, I think.
Who's Black Adam?
He's in the DC universe.
Why
he's
he called Black Adam?
He's friends with Shazam.
Is he black?
I don't know enough about the character to answer that.
Okay.
I don't think so. I feel like originally he wasn't.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So why could they call... Whatever.
I think his suit was black. I think that was it. I think
okay.
he was a big blonde, but I could be completely wrong. Anyway, we're talking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is going to be a 4-hour podcast.
Basically, what had happened was I missed out on it because on the inception, the rise to it all, because I didn't care. So I missed out on it, and it wasn't until the first Avengers came out in 2012 that one of my dear friends was like, yo, Avengers is coming out, you jazzed up to see it? And I was like, kind of, because I think I had kind of sort of watched one or two of the movies at someone's house in the background while I was at a party.
Or you were just doing that thing where you were fitting in with a new person. You were like, what do they want me to say? They want me to say yes? Yeah, totally.
Oh, no, he was one of my dearest friends. Okay. He knew. I told him straight up. I was like, yeah, I'm kind of excited. And then when he found out that, I hadn't watched every single one of them religiously, I hadn't had a relationship with it, he actually made it a point. He was like, I'm going to buy all these movies. I'm going to buy all these movies, and then we're going to go to the movies, and we're going to watch it, in theater. So it was really freaking cool. So we, hung out. He got all the movies, and then we hung out a couple different times and watched a couple different movies, and I just binged them all in. I think I might have convinced him to skip a Hulk. I'm not sure.
the Hulk,
maybe.
Or wait, did he go all the way back? Was he showing you Spider-Man and X-Men and stuff, or
no? Just the beginning of this from Iron Man.
Gotcha.
From Iron Man, how we're gonna do it, but just till the first Avengers,
and the rest of them didn't exist yet.
Yeah. And then after that, I was like, oh, I get it. This is all a part of the universe. And he's the one that introduced me to Stan Lee. I think that was one of the sticking points. Is I didn't know who he was up until that point, and he was like, no, we need to fix this.
Well, after you and I saw Guardians of the Galaxy 2, because that movie has a Stan Lee scene. And then at the end of the movie, when we left on the drive from Long Beach back to Glendale, you were like, what was the deal with that old guy that they cut to at the end? And so at that point, you had forgotten
Yeah, definitely.
who Stanley was.
Yeah, I mean, look. Here's the thing. This is gonna be a long podcast, okay? Why are we talking about this? We're supposed to be talking about.
You're right. No, you're right.
So that's how it started. I got like a kickstart.
And did you keep watching them after the Avengers?
I did. I was like more like down, like when people were like, "Hey, you want to go see this?"
So have you seen all of the films?
I don't know. I think we should do
Okay.
a thing. We should go.
Well, we'll find. I mean, we'll find out as we go
out.
through. You'll be like, I've never seen this one.
I am pretty sure I missed one or two, maybe.
Okay.
But I'm like pretty confident I've seen like most of them.
Hulk, then you probably haven't seen that one.
I mean, maybe.
That's not one that people
No,
like,
I think
really
I did it though, because like I've tried to do this. Like I want them complete. Like there's something looming over my head. Like just like how Harry Potter, like I never saw the second half of the first one, of the last one. Like I have to do that one day.
Yeah.
It bothers me. It's the only reason why I did Lord of the Rings.
We'll do it after MCU. Come out to the end of May, the Harry Potter episode.
Oh man.
Maybe. I don't know.
We really should just be a podcast where we just go back and watch a whole bunch of movies. Is it too late to rebrand?
It's called A New Perspective. The whole thing is we watch older stuff and revisit it.
Exclusively. Luna.
It could just be a part of this one.
This is a long time.
Yeah. Anyway, so
what about you, Justin?
So you've missed a few Marvel films, possibly, maybe. But you've mostly seen all of them once. But you're not like, you haven't like studied them. You're not one of those like watch it 100 times and like find all the Easter eggs.
No, I don't think I've seen any of them more than like twice.
Okay, so all right, well that'll be interesting when we start talking about them. Then I look forward. I was gonna ask you, but I was like, no, we're gonna talk about that after every single movie. So, my history with the Marvel movies was I was a diehard fan from day one, starting like way before even Iron Man and the MCU even started, like going back to X-Men and the Spider-Man and the original movies. So when the MCU started, and at the end of Iron Man, maybe I'll talk about it in Iron Man, but I've been a fan for a long time. I watched these movies a few times each, and I do find all the Easter eggs, and I'm always looking up all the like weird conspiracy theories that people have on their YouTube videos, and I'm always like, none of these are ever going to happen.
There's conspiracy theories about them?
Well, just people like trying to predict what's going to happen in each movie. Like each movie has so you can read dozens of think pieces on every single one of these movies if you want to, about what it's going to be about from like a couple weeks before it was released. And some of them are probably especially funny now considering the direction that the whole universe has taken. Anyway, so this is where we would say we're going to take a brief break and then come back after we've watched the movie. But we already watched Iron Man. We watched it last night. So let's start talking about Iron Man. You want to set the timer?
Yeah. Go. It's going.
Okay. So what did you think of Iron Man?
I thought Iron Man it was good. I was
Did you remember most of it?
I remembered. No. I remembered the end. Honestly, it's really funny because like I remembered the end, like when he was like at the press conference when like they gave him
Iron Man.
Yeah, like I remember that. I remember like him flying around, but I don't remember honestly, like I'm really excited for this experience because I don't even really remember the premise of it so much. I know that they made technology. I knew he was really smart. And when you reminded me like his dad and the weapons, it brought me back to like Captain America, which is like that's around the time where I was going to the movies and watching them like religiously. And so I remembered that storyline, but I'm like, oh, snap. Like I could just tell it's going to be much more impactful for me watching it this time around.
Since you've met the characters that they like briefly reference once in a while.
Right. I guess to be like more immersed in it because I'm going into it like knowing the story. So it's like revisiting it. And so yeah, it's like I didn't remember a lot, but when things happened I would be like, oh, like when we first saw the missile, like when he was in the car, I didn't really remember like what was going to happen, but then when it happened,
you mean when the missile hit the truck in front of them?
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't remember like, oh, this is how it happens, and that's how he turns into Iron Man. Like, I didn't remember any of that shit. I remember
remember that it was about terrorism or
nope,
the war
I
in
did
the
not.
Middle East.
Definitely did not remember the message.
That he gets tortured a whole bunch.
It was in a cave.
Oh yeah,
and
it's
stuff.
an intense movie.
I'm like, if you know that about his background, I think it's so important. So when you see him in the future movies, you understand like his character and like the weight behind that, and like why he's kind of acting like an asshole, and like the things that he's seen and the reasons why he makes the decisions that he's made. Like, I was thinking about all that stuff as I watched this movie, because I am much more connected to this Tony Stark in like the Avengers side of things than I am to the Tony Stark in Iron Man.
Where he started.
Exactly. So I feel like this time I'm going to have I feel like I'm going to cry. Like, I don't have that feeling. Like, when I watched this movie and they disappeared, like, it sucked, you know, because I've been watching and like.
What are you talking about?
This,
Infinity War?
Infinity War.
When Thanos snapped.
When Thanos snaps, I was like, oh shit, like, it's going down. But I definitely.
But you didn't have the emotional.
No.
Gotcha.
That I already know I'm going to have because of the difference watching Iron Man then versus now. I'm like, oh, it's like getting into a relationship that I know is going to fucking end soon. In 21 days, I'm going to be broken up with because there's like, you know, I know it's the end.
Right.
So it's like, I don't even want to do this, you know, like, but I've committed to it already.
What about, since when Iron Man came out, there wasn't a whole universe. There wasn't like a whole thing going on.
Right.
So watching it, could you even watch it from that perspective? I found it difficult to watch it not knowing everything that's going to happen.
Yeah.
It was like, I kept trying to put myself back in 2008 when I sat down and watched it in a theater and had no idea, like, didn't even necessarily know they were aiming for the Avengers yet, didn't know which characters they were going to have the rights to be able to put in the movie. Like, literally just watching this one movie as if it was going to be Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, and that would be it. And then there'd be like some other franchise would come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But it was difficult to snap back to where I was when I was 18 and saw this movie.
Oh, I was there. I did not give a fuck about Thanos or Doctor Strange or any of those hoes. I wasn't thinking about Guardians of the Galaxy. I wasn't thinking about anything because this was probably.
Well, I wasn't thinking about those characters.
What were you thinking about?
I was thinking about Tony's journey and like knowing who he is now versus who he was, especially at the beginning of the movie when he's just like full on womanizer.
Yeah.
Like full on living the lifestyle, kind of hates himself, but is like so egotistical it's obnoxious. And then like the only thing that can bring him down to reality to take a second look at things is to be kidnapped and tortured by terrorists.
Yeah.
Like, he was in a different place then. Oh,
definitely. But so was he as a person. Isn't that crazy?
You mean Robert Downey Jr.?
I mean Robert Downey Jr.
Well, he was on the comeback, so...
Well, yeah, and he came all the way back and then made some new shit. He blew past that shit and then made some new shit.
That's true. Granted, his whole thing now is... Oh, was that 10 minutes?
5 minutes.
That's 5 minutes. Oh, whew, okay.
Hurry up!
I forgot what I was saying. The timer ruined everything.
But yeah, anyway, I didn't have that experience. I was totally fully immersed, and I was really happy about it. I'm like excited. We're gonna have two different experiences doing this,
different.
sitting right next to each other.
It's almost like we're gonna have two perspectives. This is crazy. You did, but you were making the connections. You said when he mentioned his dad, you like remembered a storyline from Captain America.
Yeah.
Which the first time you watched this, you would not have had that.
No, definitely not.
And I know like there's this like minor inconsistency. He like says that thing about like, I never got to say goodbye to my dad. And it's like, well, we also know that his mom died at the exact same time in the same car. It's kind of weird that he's like, I never got to say goodbye to my dad, and like doesn't even mention his mom. It's like, but we know from a later movie that he was way more connected to his mom. Maybe he just doesn't feel bad because he didn't apologize. Or maybe they were just making a movie and they decided to come up with a storyline years later because they were doing this one out of the seat of their pants. Because Robert Downey Jr. improvised most of the film. They like had an outline and they like would show up to set generally knowing what was supposed to happen in the scene, but they were kind of operating without a script.
What about the other characters? How'd they know what they were going to say?
Well, if you closely listen to some, like, especially some of Jeff Bridges' dialogue, you can tell that it was probably scripted. He just like did it as scripted, especially the scenes where he's like sitting in a car by himself making a call, like, go through the documents, the lawyers, get our top men, organize a team to, it's all like very, very basic like dialogue that you can tell this was like the placeholder text they were going to use. Or it was like what, or it's an example of what the entire script would have been if they had cast somebody who wasn't Robert Downey Jr., who didn't improvise all the lines, and it would have been like really stale, and the movie might not have worked. I don't know. Or
maybe that was his improv.
Or maybe that was Jeff Bridges' improv. I doubt it. It was very, very specific.
We'll ask him. Call him up.
I guarantee
Get him on
he did
the
not
phone.
improvise
All right, we have
the
3
exposition
minutes.
in the film. But it'd be funny if he did.
I mean, I'll ask him when we see him.
Great. Okay.
Okay, so we have 3 minutes to talk about Iron Man.
Do you have anything else you need to say about Iron Man?
Yes,
Okay.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Oh, yeah.
She's in there with all kinds of freckles.
Okay.
And I was like, I haven't seen her in like, see, the thing about Gwyneth Paltrow is like, she was in one movie. Cider House Rules. Did you watch that fucking movie?
I never saw that one.
I've
seen her in a lot of movies, but
okay.
not that one.
Basically, what I mean is like there was a movie that I saw, like it's one of like the first movies I remember like consciously watching as a kid, and I watched it a couple times, like over and over again. I don't know why, because
why
did
like, you pick the weirdest
tragic.
Movies as a kid to watch it over and over?
I don't
You've seen
know.
The Burbs 100 times. You've seen The Cider House Rules is the first movie you remember seeing as a child.
When I think of Gwyneth Paltrow, I think of that.
Someone let you see the people under the stairs when you were a little kid.
Look,
like, how are you not permanently traumatized?
That's why I'm in therapy.
Oh, that's true.
Okay, but anyway, so it was nice seeing her this in like a different role. It's helping like override that like traumatic like imagery of her that I have so deep rooted. She was great.
Yeah, you like
also, I like technology. I like the technology bit of it. I like that so much of it has to do with like building
I do want to
things.
say it's really, really funny actually watching this movie after seeing all of the future iterations of the Iron Man suit, where like now he just like snaps his finger and the suit's on. The entire suit is on. It's like nanoparticles. Mm-hmm. This movie really milks the scenes where he's putting on the armor. It's like slow pans for 2 solid minutes as just like every single flap wiggles and they're doing a paint job, and it's like so masturbatory. Like, look at this suit. Oh yeah, it's the most badass thing ever. And now he like doesn't give a shit. He like jumps off a roof and the suit comes and finds him and just gets on his body. Like,
that was a fun scene. I remember that. What movie was that from?
It's I mean, the rest of the
all of it, everything.
Iron Man 3 is probably the most iconic image of him like jumping off a platform into the suit. Anyway, we'll get to that one. We've got 1 minute left.
We will. Final thoughts.
Iron Man thoughts. It's people kind of say Iron Man is like the gold standard of origin stories, and I used to think that, and I don't anymore. I think it's good. I think it's a solid movie. I'm so sorry we're done. We just watched The Incredible Hulk, and we are setting a time for 10 minutes to talk about The Incredible Hulk. Okay, how did you feel about The Incredible Hulk? Had you ever seen it before? Go.
I don't think so. I think in the first time around, we skipped it, which is great because I did not like it at all. It was boring as fuck. It sucked. I cannot believe the entire Marvel universe did not fall on the... I mean, okay... No, I stand by that. I stand by that statement. Maybe it's because I'm so spoiled because it's gotten so much better and I was like more in love with the later ones. Or maybe it's just because I'm like all of those actors are like not really actors that I see anymore, so I'm not as connected to them. Or maybe it's just...
Liv Tyler and Tim Roth. And,
whatever.
You didn't see the new Liv Tyler, Tim Roth movie?
No, I didn't. When did they come out?
It doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay, see, and it's like there's so many fight sequences, and you know that's not my favorite thing. The long, drawn-out fights. Like, oh, look at our CGI. Ooh, how did we get this thing to slam against the wall when it's real, but someone threw it who wasn't real? Oh, and they're in love. And is she not scared at all? Like, is love really that blind that she's so fucking blind that she doesn't see that shit's literally blowing up around her? She's gonna look at this big green light. It's bullshit. I'm tired. I'm tired of it. I don't believe they're in love. I think it's bullshit. What the fuck happened to that other guy, her boyfriend? Like, he just disappeared. Like, no one cares about him. And that
he's just a great guy.
Oh my gosh.
He's just a great guy.
Throwaway character. And that guy in the deli.
He had a nice moment.
No.
I liked they made her boyfriend cool.
Oh my goodness.
He was like, I know she's probably out there having sex with Bruce Banner, and I'm cool with it.
Well, good. And good for him. Exactly.
Yeah.
They gave him 30 seconds of a movie. I want to know his story. I'm much more interested in that man's story than I am in that whole thing. And there were some great things. There were some great shots, like when they were in Brazil. And I'm like, I love that architecture. There was some moments where I'm like, oh, how did he get from here to here? Interesting. What a cool way to show how strong he is, how far he can run. But, I mean, I could have had that whole movie in a 20-minute short film and been fucking solid.
Well, that's probably part of why the Hulk has been relegated to a side character in most of the rest of the Marvel Universe.
But, I mean, also, I don't know how much of it was because I've seen the Hulk so many times as a different character. Now I'm more used to...
like Mark Ruffalo?
Yep, exactly. Mark Ruffalo's the boy.
Yeah.
Just Edward Norton?
Yeah.
No. He is... No.
You don't like Edward Norton?
No. Are you kidding me? First of all, how you gonna make someone the Hulk? Do you see that fucking shot when he was in the shower and he was like hovering? That motherfucker is more skinny than me right now, and we all know I need to eat. I'm like, you need me to believe he's the Hulk when he was doing the stomach exercises.
Yeah.
I was like, he is shaved. That's cute. I mean, like, but it's not like the Hulk cute. Like, there was nothing about him. Like, how does he turn into this monster? At least with the other guy, he was kind of hairy.
That's his power. That's the whole thing. That's the whole.
Oh, it's so unrealistic. It's so unreal. And those pants.
So you just don't like the concept of the Hulk?
Maybe not. I don't know. I think it's stupid. I want to say one more thing about the pants.
Okay.
And then I'll let you. I never understood the pants. And this is in all of the movies, okay? And in this one, they show it like he's going to like use stretchy pants instead. Like, that fucking matters. Like, it's really going to make a difference that these pants can go from a medium to a triple XL when you're turning into the fucking Hulk. Are you kidding me?
You don't want to be naked Hulk.
Those pants would not fucking fit.
I'm just saying, naked Hulk would be an embarrassment for everyone.
A naked Hulk would be realistic, okay?
It would be.
I mean, I would rather him have a make-believe loincloth that just appears when his skin changes colors. I'm already believing that you're turning into a monster. I would rather believe that it comes with pants than the fact that you're still fitting in the same motherfucking sweatpants.
I love that this is our Incredible Hulk conversation. I would like you to continue.
It's important to me. It's like, that's not how it works. And his feet like bust out of the shoes and the shoes don't fit, but the pants still fit. No, you just can't show his penis. Shut the fuck up. I would rather you show his dick or have imaginary underwear that comes with the skin.
I don't think you show dicks in PG-13 movies.
You probably can't show dicks, but you need to show me something more realistic than those pants still fitting, because that's some goddamn bullshit. They do not get that big. And then shrink down when he turns back into a human.
They shrink down. They're still big. They stretchy. They stretchy pants.
And then he's like holding them.
That's 5 minutes on stretchy pants.
All right, I'm happy. That's my piece. I don't like it. The pants are bullshit.
All you gotta say.
If I never have to watch that movie again, like I would watch Iron Man again, I will never. For no reason.
It's so funny to me that you say this, because The Incredible Hulk, I'm not gonna say that I like it, but I will say that it's one of the movies I've watched the most times.
This movie?
In the entire MCU.
You keep saying MCU. I don't know if everyone knows what that means.
Everyone knows it's the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I said it was at the beginning of this podcast. For them, 15 minutes ago, I said what it is.
That was a long time ago. I don't know.
They just heard it. Okay. They remember.
Sorry.
The MCU. The Incredible Hulk is one of the ones I've watched the most times. And I think it's because
I know why.
Why?
Because Homegirl's in it. Your fantasy girl from Lord of the Rings.
What? No.
In the rain scene with the white shirt.
You think that Liv Tyler is the reason that I watched this movie without me offering up any explanation? That is your definitive that is your guess.
Top 3 reasons why you watched this movie.
Top 3
Am I
reasons.
wrong?
No. Yes, you're wrong. Yes, you're wrong.
She
does not factor into my decision to
at
watch
all.
The movie. I think she's decent in the film sometimes. I think This is not her best performance. I think they did not give her a lot to do. I think a lot of these scenes feel like they didn't have any rehearsal time. They just dropped Edward Norton and Liv Tyler together, and they were like, all right,
be in love.
Y'all are in love. And you're going to have to give some exposition about some stuff on this bed. So quickly describe the importance or lack of importance of every item here. And it was a lot. And then the scene in the cab, it's not great stuff.
All right. Okay. So what is the great stuff that you like about this?
I didn't say there's great stuff.
Then why'd you watch it so many times?
Well, if you let me answer.
I'm listening. We have 3 minutes.
Great. I have a fascination, a sort of twisted fascination with movies that don't work. Movies that should work, but that don't work. That are movies that are just, they're teetering right on the edge of there's an idea here, but also I'm really bored. And that's how I feel throughout the whole movie. And so with every scene, I try to imagine what was the conception of this scene? How did they land here? Was it the writer? Was it the director? Was it them together? These pieces come out of for there to be a comedic scene in a taxi, and for them to be constantly talking about each other's anger, and there's so much stuff, there's so many ideas, and I've read good Hulk comic books. There's good Hulk stories that can be told. So the fact that they made 2 Hulk movies, and essentially both of them were about, I don't want to be the Hulk anymore, and that's the only plot. It's kind of baffling, and that fascinates me.
Do you think it's because he's green?
I don't see green. I couldn't tell him apart from the one he was fighting. If he didn't have spikes on his spine, I wouldn't know who was who.
Yeah, you would.
I'd be
they
there's
look
2
different.
big green-gray monsters smashing each other.
Wait, hold on. Did you not know that the soda in the facility that they were?
Oh, that was green. That was green AF.
But that was green because the Hulk was green.
It was because it was neon green. It's glowy green. I can see super well.
It's because it was.
I don't actually see.
I think it's because it was clear.
It's a
light. The light shone.
Light helps.
Through.
Light helps. I still, regardless of what green it was, I don't see the same green.
Did you see the red on the blood on the bottle as they went through?
I did.
Okay.
Even if I couldn't see that color, I would still have seen that there was a dark liquid on clear glass.
True.
So,
who was your favorite character in this movie?
In this movie?
Mm-hmm.
Probably Tim Roth. After he gets the Captain America Super Soldier Serum, but before he turns into the monster.
Oh, is that what that was? Does that come back?
They're gonna bring that up again. Yeah.
Oh.
They're building the world.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that fucking body thing was weird. I'm you're an old man.
How'd you feel about Tony Stark showing up?
How did I feel about Tony Stark showing up?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Honestly, by that point, I was just so glad the movie was over. I wasn't even excited. It was this engine is off. This engine is fucking off. Of course they're going to build a team. I know they're going to build a team.
Is that our 10 minutes?
Yeah, it is.
Iron Man 2. Had you seen this one before?
Yes, I had.
Okay.
I had seen this one before. This was one of the ones that I watched in the
marathon lead up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of an important one.
Yeah.
It's kind of the one that introduces half of the new characters for the Avengers, and just kind of throw away sort of side plots that they tried really hard to tie into the main plot. Here, what would you say is the plot of Iron Man 2? You really had to boil it down.
The plot of Iron Man 2 is Tony Stark is flaunting, and he has to learn how to become a team player. And the movie it shows him learning how to do that by stroking his ego a little too hard, and then getting into trouble and having to rely on people to help him out. And the reason why is because bad guy
the reason why what?
See, this is where it gets confusing for me. It's because there's so many stories and there's so many storylines. The guy who's attacking him He's attacking him because his father and Tony's dad used to work together, but then Tony's dad, like, told him, you gotta dip, because found out he was doing, like, illegal stuff or whatever. Or that's, like, their story.
Right.
And so he makes the Iron Man suit and goes after him. The government's upset, like, hey, we can't have superheroes. I think that's supposed to be important, too, because, like, there's about to be a shit ton of them.
That's going to come back in Civil War later.
Right. Right. So Tony's like, nope, I'm doing it. I have it. This is mine. You can't help it. I don't know. It was really weird when he like, kissed Pepper at the end, because I'm like, I thought there was, like, an obvious, like, attraction there, but, like, a clear, like, I don't know. It was just so, like, she was in the movie for 5 minutes total, you know? Like,
no, she had a little more to do.
Okay, she did. She did,
but
I'm just, it wasn't
5 minutes worth of stuff.
But she wasn't with him. It wasn't like 5 minutes of like them developing their relationship or falling in love.
The thing I really noticed this time watching Iron Man 2 is that the plot is basically Tony Stark makes trouble for every person in his life, and they tell him that he's a problem. And that it's also kind of the plot of the first one, which is, you know, his ego's too big. He realizes he's doing something wrong. It's Tony Stark's like arc over the course of this franchise is slowly learning how to be a good person. Because in these two movies, he's really not.
No, he's
and
not.
It's strange to me looking back that he's the character that really launched this franchise, because he's so unlikable. And I mean, I never noticed that the first couple times I watched the movie, like back when they came out. I wasn't so much convinced that he was unlikable. I was like, well, but he's right. So everyone should just like put up with it. Kind of like, I feel like that's like what I thought at the time.
I mean, I think that's what like a lot of people
think.
And I mean, like that whole like Tony Stark is like bad boy, like I got all this money, I got all these fancy things.
Rock star.
Yeah.
He's very much an Elon Musk, which I didn't even remember that he's in this movie.
Elon Musk?
Yeah, did you see him?
No.
There was like a little scene where he's like, before he goes out onto the racetrack, and he's just like at that party, and it's just like a bunch of rich famous people, and Justin Hammer is there, and before he goes over to talk to Justin Hammer, he has a brief conversation with Elon Musk about technology in the suit. It's like real brief.
Interesting.
Elon Musk had like a line, and it was funny because like 10 minutes before that happened, I was, especially after Tony Stark in Iron Man 2 is introduced by showing up at his expo by jumping out of a plane in the Iron Man suit and landing in front of a crowd of people. I was like, you know, if actual today there was a super billionaire in charge of tech like Elon Musk, who was like, hey, actually I invented a suit with weapons on it, and I'm flying around the world, and I'm in charge of what's right and wrong, I'd be like, fuck that guy. Like, fuck Elon Musk. Like, not that Elon Musk is putting on an Iron Man suit, but he is launching cars into space for no reason and just, like, doing whatever the hell he wants to.
What do you mean, no reason?
This isn't an Elon Musk podcast. We're not here to talk about Elon Musk. We're here to talk about Tony Stark.
Right.
And how Tony Stark has always been a bit of a problem. And I don't know how many people noticed that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like I mean, if you have to think about like the mental like state we were in, and like how you're taught to believe things. Like, of course, everyone liked Iron Man. Everyone likes that guy. No one wants
aspires to be that.
Of course. Guy. I mean, Jack Sparrow's not fucking a great guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's a drunk. He steals people's shit.
Yeah.
But he's right, end quote. And everyone kind of digs that.
It's just it's so much that like. It is like starting around that time where we, as a culture, just really started getting obsessed with the anti-hero. We had like The Sopranos and Breaking Bad and Iron Man and all these characters who were like not good people, really doing bad things, really selfish, and we all just like worshipped them. And it's, you know,
why do you think that's the case?
Who our president is now, and it's like, I kind of see how we got here.
I mean, do you think he's Iron Man?
No, I think he's someone who thinks he's Iron Man. Not superhero, but like he thinks he's the smartest, strongest, best. everything he says about himself is that, I'm the best, I'm the greatest, and that's like the type of personality that we've been interested in. It's the type of personality that we've been in our culture rewarding. It's also interesting that we do not have a black lead male character who is allowed to be likable and evil at the same time. Maybe Killmonger, but he's also the villain in that movie. Like, we finally get our lead black superhero in the Marvel universe. We get Black Panther. He's the most likable person. He's like Captain America level of like responsibility.
Yeah, it's true.
And
it's true. Would people like relate to
if we had Black Iron Man, if it was Tony Stark is a black billionaire, philanthropist, womanizer, horrible person, in the same way that Tony Stark is, if it was the same movie shot for shot, Robert Downey Jr.'s personality, but with a different actor of a different race, would we have even bought that movie? Like, would the culture have seen that movie? Would it have been rewarded in the way that Iron Man was? I feel like no.
Okay, that's just so hard. I want to argue with you, but like my argument is I can't even imagine it at that time happening, which kind of goes to prove your point. Right. Which is like, no, we definitely wouldn't have been okay with that.
Maybe we would, but nobody's trying it. No one's giving it a chance.
Right.
Like the only people that it's like, well, he's unlikable and he's likable. It's like, it's always a white guy. It's always a white guy. And in rewatching all these movies, I'm like really, really noticing it because it's kind of Bruce Banner too in The Incredible Hulk. It's definitely Thor. We're going to talk about that soon. They're just like, they're so like, our intelligence is better than everything else. It's better than humanity. Like, intelligence is better than being a good person. And Tony's all about it. Bruce is all about it. Thor's not so much about intelligence. He's more about just brute strength. But it's still just like, they're very toxically masculine ideals, and we're worshiping them.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like we have a responsibility as a culture to recognize that this has always been a part of us, and we've always been looking up to this, and we've always been rewarding it with money, and that maybe there's an explanation as to why the world looks the way it does.
Right.
So we didn't talk about Iron Man 2 at all. I just got on a high horse, and I feel guilty. Do you have anything you'd like to say in the final minute of Iron Man 2 discussion?
Yeah, let's see.
What did you like about the movie?
Iron Man 2, I liked.
Or didn't like?
I didn't like.
Whichever one you want.
Let's see. Let me choose. Okay, it was full of stuff. My favorite parts were, as usual, like the parts where he's like building things. Like, I would much rather see a full montage scene of something being built and like sciencey stuff and like soldering and like versus a fight scene. And I just
not a fan of the fight scenes.
Not a fan of the fight scenes, but I think this is a personal thing, like it's just like it's so long and so drawn out, and I feel like there were so many characters. There would have been like a better opportunity to use that time to like kind of help us get to know them more, like do a little bit more character development versus like things are blowing up.
10 minutes on the board. What did you think about Thor?
What did I think about Thor? What is Natalie Portman doing in this movie is what I thought about Thor. Also, she has very interestingly shaped eyebrows. I feel like it's a statement, and I'm standing behind it. Mm-hmm. It's definitely different than... I need to go back and look at all her eyebrows in her other movies. Anyway, Thor... I thought it was cool that...
she really liked it, as you can see.
No, okay, I did like it, but it's just so very like
it's Thor.
It's Thor. It's
super Thor.
It's
very like Shakespearean tragedy, brothers and fathers and power,
all the penis things,
war. Mm-hmm. It's like the most masculine. They were trying to make the most masculine movie.
Well, I mean, they succeeded.
Oh yeah, like every single thing in Thor is male. we should go to war.
Yeah.
It's the most important thing.
Yep.
And Anthony Hopkins is like, well, like, yeah, that was like totally my thing for a long time, but I've grown past it because I'm an old man now. But I'm about to pass the torch on to you, Thor, and you're gonna wreck everything.
He's gonna wreck it.
Thor is basically Wreck-It Ralph.
I mean,
and Loki is not Fix-It Felix, because Fix-It Felix is a nice guy. No. The metaphor loses steam
Loki's
after
not
that.
Nice. Loki is also toxic.
Is also Soup's toxic.
Yep.
He's like, I'm going to make everything about me. And Anthony Hopkins is kind of in the same boat, but he just goes to sleep for the whole movie.
Not the whole movie.
For pretty much the whole movie.
Cool
as soon as his fake adopted son is like, hey, are you my real dad? He just like has a heart attack and goes to sleep.
Damn.
And everyone's like, that sounds like some guilt right there.
He does not like nope, swerve. That is a way to avoid a question.
But also like, damn, what a weird way to have to punish your son for intentionally trying to start a war with another race. Is like, I take away all your superpowers and I trap you on a planet on the other side of the universe and you can never see us again.
That's not true. That's not what he was doing, though. Oops. That's not what he was doing. He was trying to teach him a lesson.
Are you defending Thor?
He was trying to... Look, okay, no, I'm not... Okay, first of all, that flip in character development happened in 2 scenes. 2 scenes. All of a sudden, he's making eggs.
Here's what happens. He meets Natalie Portman. And did you know that the only thing that can make a toxic man a good person is a woman putting up with his bullshit until he learns to stop being a dick?
I thought you were going to say, is Natalie Portman.
Oh, yeah, just period. Natalie Portman is the only one who can save the... Natalie Portman!
Natalie Portman! We are for Natalie Portman!
First of all, we are so sorry that this is your fate, but apparently the only thing that you can do with the rest of your life is cure the world of sad boys.
No.
We're so sorry. That is your...
I mean, she's...
No, it's not.
It's not. She's kind of doing it, though. I mean, she's doing more than that.
She's going out producing movies and, like, real important ones.
Right.
We got to watch some of her. Gotta watch
we'll
some
have
Vox Lux.
We'll have some...
You liked Annihilation.
I did.
But this isn't a Natalie Portman podcast.
This isn't a Natalie Portman. This is a Thor podcast.
Thor cast.
Okay, so the Thor cast on this is slightly shady. Cause
it's definitely that same formula we were just talking about with Iron Man 2, which is super toxic guy has to learn to not be toxic, and by the end we're allowed to like him. But but of course they also want you to like him at the beginning, and of course they also want you to like super buy into this love story he has with Natalie Portman, which is absurd.
It's unnecessary.
She's basically just thirsty for him. The whole, like, every single scene, the direction was like, oh, you want to fuck him. Do you see those arms? Do you know how long he's worked on these arms? Do you know how tall he is? Look at this guy. Look at his flowing locks and his bleach blonde eyebrows. And tell me you don't want to fuck him right now. Natalie Portman. And she's like, I can play that. I think I could do that. And that's it. That's all she has to do in every single scene. And then every once in a while, she's like, ugh, my science is missing. Oh, that government stealing my science.
And they give it all back to her at the end.
Of course.
Yeah, because that happens. They're just like, oh, yeah, here you go. I've never been in a situation where the government came to me and then they just gave me all my stuff back because some guy walked in and was like, hey.
Well, if you had a Thor in your life, maybe they would give all your shit back.
Oh, right. I need to go find myself a man.
Well, you just need to wait for him to fall out of the sky and then you can hit him with your truck a couple of times. And I feel like at this point, I feel like I've been very negative on the past few movies in the Marvel Universe. And I feel like that's partially because I was a very different person when these movies came out. Yeah. And I think I was a toxic fan. I think I was hashtag problematic. Oh. I think so I'm more reconciling my disappointment with my former self than I am with the movies because I still enjoy them. Yeah. Granted, in the future, when like Phase 4 after Endgame, the Phase 4 of the Marvel Universe starts, I'm probably never gonna watch any of these Phase 1 movies again. These like pre-Avengers movies. I think I'm done with them. I think we haven't rewatched Captain America yet. That one I might rewatch. because that one, I hope I'm not wrong. I remember Captain America: The First Avenger being the best of the bunch, my favorite one. Like, and I think looking back on it, it's probably because he's the only one of these characters who's like a good person.
Oh, wow. He's like respectable.
He's the only person who's like, the reason we've chosen you is because you're the nicest person. And the super serum that we're going to give you is going to amplify every one of your characteristics. If you were toxic, you'd be so much more toxic. But we can't find anything wrong with you, Steve Rogers. You're just a good guy with a heart of gold who wants to do some good in the world.
Right.
So we're going to make you a superhero, which is like how it should be. Like, if we had the power to give out superpowers to anyone, we should give them to the nicest, kindest, most thoughtful, caring people. Not just the people with the most money and the biggest egos, which is the rest of this franchise.
I would agree. Well, do you think that maybe in like the next phase they will try to remedy some of these things? Like,
I think they've already been remedying a bunch of them.
Yeah.
I think post Civil War, they've really been trying harder to make the characters a lot more. Well, probably since Disney bought the company, which was like either right before or right after the Avengers. They've been, I think, fighting more with some of them. They've been cutting out a little bit of the misogyny. They've been focusing on the humor being less mean, like just like funny situations rather than like, say, you know, the Leslie Bibb Iron Man 1 scene where Gwyneth Paltrow and Leslie Bibb are having a conversation where they're just like, just catty and mean to each other, and she's like, sometimes I'm gonna take out the trash, and it's like, why you gotta be mean to her? Like, she just slept with a guy because she wanted to,
right?
Like, I don't know, maybe you can question her morals because like she's also trying to do a story on him,
right?
But like, what's wrong with sleeping with a guy, Gwyneth? Not that it's on her for that scene.
Specifically, Gwyneth Paltrow.
Or the scene in Iron Man 2. We're back on Iron Man 2, where Scarlett Johansson's like changing in the back seat because they're going to go kick some ass. And Jon Favreau's character, Happy, is just like, almost drives him off the road because he's trying to get a glimpse of some of that Scarlett Johansson body. And it's like, ha 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 ha. The joke is that he's a perv.
Right.
But we still like him, and he's still one of our heroes and our main characters.
That's very true.
I'm having a complicated time on this.
Did you expect this?
No, not at all. I mean, I knew like a little bit of it was there, but I didn't know it'd be like so glaring to me in almost every moment. Yeah. And I just feel like back in the day, I probably pushed away a lot of potential friends who maybe had these opinions and were like, I don't know, I think those guys are a little problematic. And I was just like, these movies are awesome, you don't get it. Or like, hey. And then they were like, all right, cool, let's just not be friends with Justin then. Like, I don't know.
Oh, this is an experience.
It's an experience. We're not even talking about the Avengers. This is a new perspective on movie rewatches. Where you have a new perspective on your own self.
Wow.
As you grow into a different person.
Yeah.
And realize that the stuff you used to like maybe isn't perfect. And maybe if you try to pretend it's perfect forever, you'll never grow and you'll never change. And that's an issue. So that was our part about Thor.
The 10 minutes has started.
I know. Oh, it already did?
Yes.
Oh, God damn it. Can you start it over? How long has it been? No, tell me what's happening. You can't just do things. I can't read your mind. This is the Captain America part of the podcast. What did you think about Captain America?
I thought Captain America deserves way more attention and clout than it got. Honestly, I was about to leave your ass, babe. I was about to leave you. Not the relationship, just this part of the podcasting experience. I'm like, yeah, let's talk about some other stuff. Let's talk about my geographical tongue,
so the
color
rest
blindness.
Of the Avengers one would just be me talking to myself for 10 minutes.
I would much rather like book special guests, hold auditions, get that notarized, go to the direct DMV.
Wow, you were not enjoying this.
No, okay.
I just wanted to do it. I thought you were like, I want to do it because I want to be able to say I did it.
No, I did, and I do, and I am enjoying myself. It's just, I expected the movies to be better than they are. The ones leading up to here. So we're supposed to be talking about Captain America, and I will talk about Captain America. Captain America was like, and I'm sure you'll agree with this, so I don't want to take too much of it, but I was like, finally, there was like a lead character that I fucked with, like, that I was like, I actually want you to win. You're not completely a dick. Or like, oh, there's females in here. Like, I care. Like, I saw
a lot of great women in that.
Yeah.
It's like like featured extras who like
Exactly.
change the plot. Like the old woman in the bookshop or the library
she was
or whatever.
Great.
Like, she didn't have to be there, but she was. I appreciated it.
I did appreciate. I even appreciated the fact that little hussy with the blonde hair like wanted to make out with him after she found out he was Captain America, because that's real. And you know, it's like sometimes
Did
I feel.
you call her a hussy?
Yeah.
What?
Is that not what people say?
I mean, I guess probably at the time period the movie takes place.
Don't fucking come for me.
I'm just like, that's an old word.
I'm an old lady. Look, I have a massive vocabulary.
Well, okay, you know that was Natalie Dormer.
No, I don't know who Natalie Dormer is. Who's Natalie Dormer?
That was Natalie Dormer. She's on Game of Thrones. Well, she was. R.I.P. Sorry, spoilers for a couple seasons ago. Natalie Dormer. Yeah, and she's been in some movies. Maybe you didn't see any of her stuff because you don't. Anyway, yeah, that was Natalie Dormer, and that was real.
Captain America.
Did you have more? I'm sorry.
Yes, obviously.
Okay.
I'm glad she wasn't I'm glad I feel like a lot of times people, when they're trying to showcase female characters or characters of color, which this one clearly did, like I like literally remember like a scene where like he brings the people back and there's just like a black man right there in the middle, and I'm just like, that damn, y'all really did place him there. But they did, and I remember it, and I honestly, like, I'm like, you know, I feel like represented, you know, but honestly, like sometimes I'm a hussy, like sometimes like I'm like, damn, you sexy boy, or you know, I'm like, you know, don't just, we're not all fucking female agents, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're pushing too motherfucking hard. I get it. I still want it to be balanceable and believable. And sometimes when you see, you know, Captain America, you get vagina tingles and you want to make out with him behind a bookcase. Like, that's real shit. And I'm glad it was in there. All right, now I'm done.
All right. I just don't know why you're using a word that has a negative connotation in people's minds to describe the desire.
I don't.
Hussy?
Is that, how negative is that in your brain?
Oh,
okay, at the same time. A woman who kisses
on the very first date is usually a hussy. It's a part of it's like the classic word that small town mentality uses to describe like a woman who goes after a man that she wants and they have sex. We can't even say it.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm down with that.
Okay.
I know that there's like probably people who like
but we're not supposed to be talking about Hussy. We're talking about Captain America.
Captain America
is great. I love this movie. It still holds up. I was getting worried because I kind of liked the Iron Mans and the Incredible Hulk and Thor the first time. I was like a Thor defender. I was like, you know, I kind of fuck with Thor. Like, Thor's kind of the shit. But like, I fucking hate Thor now after watching this movie. And I'm like hoping that I have the experience with Ragnarok that everyone else says they had, or it was like, they saved Thor. Because like, I was like, nah, Thor's already the shit. And then Ragnarok, like, he's a totally different character. And it's not why I didn't like it, but anyway, yeah, no, it's kind of in character more than I thought it was. His like lack of any emotional realness or whatever. We're talking about Captain America. Stop getting off track, me.
It's hard because, you know, like we're watching them back to back and they are all connected. And
especially this one, like ties so much into so many of them with the introduction of the first Infinity Stone.
Oh, yes. But you at the time you didn't know it was that important. Of course you didn't know,
but they knew. And we know now. So looking back at it then and being like, oh, it is the space stone. Like, look what it did. It opened a portal in space. That's crazy.
Do you think people who are listening to this, how do you think people are absorbing this listenership? Like
I don't know.
They're still not talking about Thor. We're 5 movies in, and I still don't know a plot line. I don't know.
I think it's going to be a very interesting experiment of a way to have a conversation or a way to listen to a podcast where people are just randomly jumping into brand new conversations that came out about after like days of watching different movies and having life experiences.
Is that wind?
Where are you? Yeah.
Oh
wind.
my gosh.
The wind is powerful today to set this podcast in time for you. The day we recorded the Captain America part, it was very windy. If you remember a day in early April when it was very windy, that was the day we recorded the Captain America, the first Avenger part of the podcast. Are you the wind? Wind, get out of here, Wind. Bring Amber back. Wow, you were like inside her body, Wind. That was crazy.
I'm back.
Thank you.
Captain America.
I love this movie. Captain America
Top 3 reasons why you love Captain America. Go.
Top 3. Captain America is so moral.
1.
It's kind of absurd how moral, but like that's what he should be. That's what he should be.
America. Yeah.
It's a movie being made about the perfect man from a moral standpoint, and he is doing his best to be that. And it's a difficult thing to pull off, but he's so good. He's just a good person, and I don't know. I feel like I'm being cheesy now, but that's like it. That's like all 3 reasons. It's like
wait, Steve Rogers.
Steve Rogers is the shit. He's kind and he cares about other people, and he doesn't like bullies. And he's like, I'm just gonna stand up to bullies. Like that's gonna be my thing, and that like kind of stays his thing for like the rest of the movies. And he's so grounded. He's like, it's weird because he's a character who doesn't really have an arc. Like he's a good person at the beginning, he's a good person in the middle, he's a good person at the end. He doesn't like learn anything except for the extent to which the people in power are using him. And he's such a symbol like of America in that way, where it's like America at its core, at its purest core of its like what the founding fathers intended when they made it is goodness. But the people who are aiming him and using him it's for their own reasons. And so Captain America can't be good because he's carrying out the orders and the whims of everyone above him and around him. But he's just trying so damn hard. Do you remember the first time you saw Captain America, the first Avenger?
Hell yeah. I was like, this motherfucker is sexy.
Was that essentially the entire opinion you had of it as you left? That if you looked back on it, like is that what you remembered? Like Captain America's sexy?
The first time?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cuz I mean, really, and I mean, and because I would have I would have watched it leading up to the Avengers the first time, but at the time I wasn't as upset about all the misogyny in the previous movies because I wasn't as woke, and I didn't care as much about myself and / or women. Real shit. But I don't remember being like, I like you because you're a good guy and the other guys are bad guys, or I like you because you like stand up for what's right, or I like you because I think it's like in a different place right now just because it's so like not realistic, like in comparison to what our other Captain of America, aka our president, is like. I just feel like it's
don't put them in the category together.
No, look, the Captain America, he's like gonna take us home and win the war, and the fuck war is Trump gonna win? Like, come on. Like, I mean, but honestly, hey, you know what?
Is he gonna run behind enemy lines and start rescuing people?
I would say
from a red-faced super soldier Nazi.
He will tweet about it. He would.
Oh, he would. I'd be good too. It'd be one of the top 5 tweets of all time.
Stop. But it's not just Trump.
Huge tweet.
It's a lot of what America is, and a lot of the men who run this country who are supposed to be taking care of us and in charge of us and like giving a fuck about the people who live here. But in reality, like the older I get and what we've been able to like unfold is like, oh, a lot of people are mostly just interested in making money, which is interesting because that's obviously what war is. We know that war is about like conquering land and eliminating religions.
That's what both Iron Man movies were about. His entire company was designed to sell weapons of war to the government.
That's
the entire Marvel universe is just like a giant anti-war metaphor that just constantly has war happening.
That's kind of confusing. Maybe when they release the next segment with the more lady movies, there'll be more like
phase
peace.
4.
What I mean, like, what would superhero movies be like? Like, as superhero movies is like, we need a man to save us. Like, there's a tragedy happening. A white man, yes.
And black guys can like kill vampires. Like, that's a cool thing for them to do. Blade.
What?
Blade was the first black superhero movie made. Maybe not. Maybe there could have been like one of those shitty like 70s ones like they did for Captain America, but I don't think so. I feel like Blade was like the first like big budget, successful Marvel superhero, and it's Wesley Snipes killing vampires. He is a vampire who kills vampires.
He kills his own kind. I've never seen it.
Oh, well, yeah, but that's like the kind of shit they let black heroes do.
Kill vampires?
Yeah, and that was like still like riding off of the Will Smith is like rising to fame, and it's like cool to like black people now, like wave.
Do you think that maybe because Will Smith is coming back out in Aladdin, like people will start liking black people again?
I don't think Aladdin is going to have anything to do with anything very much in the future.
Oh, but we're talking about Captain America, and we have 1 minute. Final thoughts.
Oh, damn. I love Captain America. I remember it being my favorite movie of the entire Marvel universe until the next Captain America movie came out. Captain America was the top movie. It was above the Avengers. Every time I released one on my list, people were like, "You're crazy. Captain America is not the best one." I couldn't articulate why it was the best one. I was like, I just fucking love that guy, you know? He's just a great guy, and he's fighting Nazis, and it's like kind of unfair because of course the villain that he's up against is the least morally gray villain ever, because we don't ever see like the good side of the Nazis portrayed, because what is that? Mm-hmm. It's like, of course Captain America is in the right in this movie. Da-da-dun, da-da-dun, dun, da-da-dun, da-da-dun, dun, da-da-dun, da-da-dun, dun, da-da-dun, da-da-dun, dun. The Avengers!
You're a nerd.
Did you start the timer? The Avengers! Don't make fun.
Wait.
So, the Avengers!
I don't know.
Listen, what did you think of the Avengers? I know you've been having kind of a hard time with this
Kind
franchise.
of a hard time.
So what did you think of the Avengers?
I thought it was necessary in order to keep me participating in this project.
She was gonna bail on the podcast.
I wasn't gonna bail on the podcast. But
y'all.
I think people were gonna bail on the fucking franchise if they didn't do something. They needed to do something.
I mean, if you look at the box office returns of those early movies, they're certainly much lower than all of the movies now.
Right, but I think like in retrospect, I understand why more than I did when it came out. I was just like, oh, obviously, like everyone just wants to be together. It's a collab, you know? It's a collab. I understand collabs. I'm a content creator, so it's like this is just like a big ass collab that worked. Beforehand, none of them were super popular, but they all had their little niche micro audiences, and then they decided to come together in one big movie where they all needed to do one task. I'm like, I've seen this before on YouTube. Come on. They just have more money and cooler costumes and are lying about who they are. But granted, most content creators are also lying about who they really are. But anyway, so I guess what I'm saying is Avengers felt like something I understood. And
this was the first one you understood?
It was the first one I understood. It's the first one I cared about. It was like like that.
Captain America you didn't care about?
I did like Captain America. I did like Captain America, and I was down with Captain America.
I vaguely remember you the last time we recorded, like in Captain America.
Yeah, no, I did. I think this is what I've realized is in all of these movies, it's like, we need to save the fucking world. Like, if we don't do this, bad shit's gonna happen everywhere. And in order to avoid that, we're gonna fuck shit up. And I'm like, I'm not really a fan of the world ending. I'm not really a fan of fucking shit up. So, like, the fact that you're fighting right now to, like, avenge like the planet because of whatever reason, like that's just so not relatable to me. Like, I've never gotten into a fight with the man in a suit.
The fate of the world was on the line.
Yeah, except for, you know, like right now, but in real life. The fate of the world is...
Do you do that?
Yeah.
You get into fight with men in tights when the fate of the world is on the line?
I mean, I feel like that's what I'm doing.
I don't know. On the daily?
I don't know if they're in
tights. Is
that
why you like these movies better now than you did?
No. I like these movies better now than I did is because I feel like the Avengers was the first one, probably because they fucking had to, because there were so many characters that they made the characters like interact with one another, and it was more like, what's Loki doing, and like, why does he want this? And it was like psychology. It was like psychological trippage.
They definitely did a lot more character work in the Avengers than they did in almost any of the previous films. Like, they give you a sense of the character in their origin movies, but they don't really get into like what makes them tick. And that's one of the things that I'll just say I am so glad that this movie holds up because I haven't watched it almost since it came out in 2012. It's been a while, and as I've been watching the movies that took place before it, I've been like, oh no, my feelings have changed. I don't like these so much anymore.
Okay, so you don't like them. See, you liked them. You have the nostalgia element, like how I have with like the Goonies. I
definitely am able to look past the flaws in a lot of those movies because I loved them so much before, but they're definitely flawed.
See, I don't have that. I don't care. I'm like, I'm watching it here in 2019, and I'm like, shame on you. Shame on you. I don't give a fuck. Like, it's so hard not to see it, you know? Like, I could watch it in 2019 if I wasn't as, like, enlightened to shit as I was. And I could not
I wasn't in 2012.
Exactly. But if I was in 2012, I wouldn't have liked it then either, you know? So it really is a me thing. Like, I don't want anyone to be like, what the fuck? I love these movies and then feel like shit because, you know, I'm saying they're less evolved, even though I kind of am. If you are watching those movies and you're like, this movie's the shit, we fucking love Thor, then I'm like, you're just not in my genre of, you know, people who I like to talk to on a regular basis.
Wow.
I'm being real. I'm being honest.
I feel like there's probably some people out there who Thor is the shit and you would enjoy talking to them.
Not about Thor. And if that I did, because Thor. Why is Thor the shit? If you think Thor is the shit because you...
Maybe they'd have a great explanation. 5 minutes. Maybe
shit, we're not
we don't have
Avengers.
A person who thinks Thor is the shit who's currently here. So as soon as we do, maybe they can make a pitch and maybe they'll sway you a little bit.
I will have an open.
We'll see. I will. Yeah, keep that mind open.
All right, I'll keep it open. I am willing to change my perspective on it, but currently, as it stands, Avengers is my favorite of all the movies that we've watched thus far. I don't know if my rating reflects that. I'm not sure, but it was the first one.
I think it's tied with another one for your highest score. I think so. We've been keeping track of our scores on the movies. I'm going to read them at the end of the podcast. So
stay tuned. Wait, you should have said that in the beginning. Like, we're already like 7 hours in.
Whatever. It's the Avengers. We're revealing big pieces of information and the parts of the master plan are coming into focus. We're going to read our scores of the films at the end of the podcast. In the meantime,
who's your favorite Avenger?
From this movie, my favorite character is Black Widow. It's Black Widow, and so it's difficult because so many of her moments in this movie don't mean anything unless you've read the comics, because they don't give her her own solo movie. She's one of the few characters who is a hero in the movie who doesn't have a lead-up film. Mm-hmm. Granted, I said this to you during the movie. I'm glad that they didn't make her movie back then because I think they would have messed it up. Based on how they were treating all of their male characters, I feel like their take on her would have been a little sexist. Even just on how she was in Iron Man 2. Mm-hmm. Like, they made her a badass at the end, but outside of being a badass who's good at lying, like, what else did they really give you about her? That was it.
Well, in this...
and everybody wanted to sleep with her. She was super hot. Tony wanted to sleep with her.
Yes.
Happy wanted to sleep with her.
But is that what...
Probably Jarvis. Who knows?
No, does Jarvis has sexual preference?
Probably.
I hope so. If Tony Stark made him, I'm sure he does.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, because he does put him in check every once in a while. But in this movie, she does say when she's on the phone, like, I'm working, after being like very like, he's giving me everything. So she's like playing that up. So I'm glad
100%.
they showed that in this one. But then they were also like, when she was like having her like moment with Loki, there was a moment with somebody where she's like, I have like a specific set of skills, or like very like taken a specific set of skills or whatever. And I was like, what is your specific set? Because I don't know her backstory.
She has a bunch. Almost every line she has is supposed to clue you in on her past. Like, she's talking to Hawkeye and he's like, do you have any idea what it's like for somebody to go inside your head and take you out of it and put something else in? And she turns to him and she's like, you know that I do.
Right.
We didn't see
But
that.
I don't know.
We did not as an audience see that. But if you have read the comics and you know her backstory, that's a deep, amazing character moment. And the moment after she faces off one-on-one with the Hulk and she's like traumatized, terrified, near tears, And then she finds out, like, hey, your friends need you. And she gets up and she's like, all right, I'm back in action. Like, she is so strong. She has so much trauma in her past. And they used it in this movie, unfortunately, without having the time they needed to really sell you on what that was. But I think that she is such a better character in the Avengers than she was in Iron Man 2.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a great film. It's a great movie. And I liked it better this time than any of the other times that I watched it. Partially because I think I understood a lot more of the machinations of the politics behind like what Samuel L. Jackson is doing with the people in the boardroom on the screens. And he's like, they talk a lot about like legal stuff that I did not understand when I watched these movies the first time and do now. And so it's made a lot of those aspects of these movies stand out a lot better for me.
Well, I liked when Samuel L. Jackson, his character name, Nick Fury,
yeah.
When he said
Director Fury.
Director of
S.H.I.E.L.D. Yeah.
I was like, what? I'm confused.
S.H.I.E.L.D.
When he was like, until the world stops spinning, we are going to act as if it is going to continue doing so. Or basically, like, everyone's like, the world's going to end, fuck it. He's like, nope, because I'm still breathing. Hey now, come follow me. We got a whole new world to build, baby. Creating everything all around us. Can't stop. We gotta go. We gotta get elevated, get in the know. You're about to learn all about us.
We're sorry. The number you have reached is not in service.